Hey, great to have you all here. And I'm proud to say we have one of my great friends and somebody I've worked with quite a bit in the past, Robin Harshaw from Coldwell Banker HomeSafe. And Robin, it's always great to chat with you. I always love your energy and everything. So I'm really looking forward to today's conversation here. If you could introduce yourself and maybe just tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in the market with buyers and sellers right now.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure at any event that we do because you've got so much energy. So I appreciate that. I've been in real estate for 10 years. So what we're seeing now is much different than 2015, 2016. And though buyers luckily are seeing a lot of cooling in the market with regard to maybe listings are sitting for a week opposed to an hour, it is still very competitive because the first time home buyers continue to be the bulk of who's in the market right now. They're tired of renting, or maybe their landlord continues to raise the rents and they just see the value in that. So they want to go ahead and take a chance at home ownership. And I think as of yesterday, the last update that I got, it was like around 54% of all first time home buyers, they struggle with the cash to close, right? That down payment and those closing costs. So those are the challenges that we're seeing on the buyer's end, in addition to the limited inventory compared to last year. Inventory for February actually decreased, right? So while the number of listings has gone up in certain markets and the pricing has gone up in certain markets, it's not the case in others. It really all depends on where you're buying. But my job is to try to, number one, find you that house that you're looking for, but also pair you with that lender who has the tools available to help you with some of those things. If you do need gift funds or different creative programs to help you with your down payment, maybe we can work with the seller on that end. On the flip side of that, sellers, they're still looking pretty good, right? If you've got a great location, great house, it doesn't even have to be fully remodeled, even if it's just clean and nicely done, it's going to sell fairly quickly. But if you've got a struggle property, maybe it's old, it's outdated, it needs a roof, windows, maybe it's not really well maintained and you can't keep up with it, you're going to take a hit on the price because that first time home buyers are our biggest group, and the affordability issue is a real crisis. They can't afford to pay top dollar for something that needs so much work. Really working with sellers on creative ways to either, if there is the availability to pull money out of the house for some of those upgrades, or maybe finance some of those upgrades so that you can get top dollar for your house. That's going to be key, because the ones that are ready to go and move in ready and clean, they're selling no problem. The ones that are not, you're taking a pretty big hit on the price or the number of days on the market, which of course all leads into price because that's more months of interest, more months of taxes, more months of just overall mortgage payment and maintenance on that house.
Yeah, and I think what you said is so key with these challenges that so many are experiencing in today's market. However, there's great solutions to exactly what you just said in reference to some of the sellers. I think with the help that you provide, you point out things that maybe they need to or fix up on a property when they're going to sell, or maybe they don't even need to address it because maybe it's not as significant. Do you see that concern for sellers sometimes that they're worried about, "Oh, I gotta do all these projects and maybe that's not as big of a mountain to climb that a buyer might not be as concerned on certain things." Obviously, I know the more significant things that you're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I see that quite often. You'll come in contact with a seller client and they're like, hey, I want to sell my house, but there's so many things that I want to get done. And it's always better to just let me come by first, right? Let that realtor come by first and talk through some of the changes you're thinking about making. Because if your change includes putting $5,000 into the house when a buyer could care less about it, why not save that or put it towards something that they might care about? Or if it's list ready and it's clean, and even though it might be a little bit dated, save that 5,000 because you're going to have a home inspection, right? We're seeing way less buyers waive that home inspection than a few years ago. They're going to get it checked out. They're going to have that guy go through with a fine tooth comb. Save that for your inspection repairs. So then that way it's less on your pocket, it's less of a burden.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that you probably maybe were referencing earlier that with some of the programs that we've been doing for some of these challenges in reference to a property that might need some work. We have some really great renovation solutions that can be not always major, like that it has to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. It might even just be that $5,000 repair job. We can actually, for the buyer of that seller's property, build that into the loan in many cases. And now it's a win. The seller didn't need to address it, and the buyer's gonna have that fixed if they're not super handy. So that can be a great tool that we've put along for many people. And I know you're referencing too, that big challenge of money at closing is just so huge for so many people with all of those dynamics going on in the market. One of the big things that we are doing a lot of, and we were just working with a client this morning that we're doing a down payment assistance loan for them on their property that's going to actually be structured in a way that they actually are going to get their earnest money back at closing. That the down payment assistance programs I know that we're doing right now that we've been talking with some of your clients about as well, those we can do all the way up to 23,000. And then on top of that, we might even have additional grants and incentives to do for that challenge too. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
the challenges I think are out there, but like you said earlier, it's so key for these sellers and buyers to talk with professionals like you and myself to be able to have real world expert help and direction, because that's just so key in today's market, I feel like.
Yeah, that's key. You have to have someone on your team that you trust, and you also have to have that expert. Here's our situation. The buyers are excited. They want to buy. And even more than that, majority of them love the idea of fixing the house up themselves. So if they are able to save money on the down payment and use that money to update something or furnish something or fix those repairs, they're going to be excited about that. And the seller is too, because it's just less of a headache. So being able to even market a property. I know you've got several programs where we can market in their listing and send buyers directly to you to ensure that it's a smooth process. So that way we're all on the same page when we sign the contract, how it's going to go. So that feature is awesome.
For sure. Again, I know we don't have a whole lot of time here to talk today, Robin, but if there's any like best tip that you can recommend, what's your number one tip as a takeaway today for a seller or a buyer beyond what you were talking about already?
My number one, it's like a tip / reminder, is your real estate goals, whether you're a seller or a buyer, are 100% obtainable. There is always a way. So do not self-qualify yourself or your house, right? Call a professional, get us out there. It's absolutely possible. If you're thinking, oh, there's no way, there's always a way.
That's awesome. That's a great thing to go off of for sure. So if anyone that is listening to this, if you're hearing this right now, please reach out to both of us. We'll have our information in the post, and otherwise direct message either of us or call either of us. And we are happy to be helping you to your pathway to creating wealth with real estate, no matter if it's one you're living in or if you're investing in. So thank you for taking some time and listening to us today, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.